based on tiebreakers. So he could have been job done at this point, but because of the increased size of the field, the increased difficulty of competition means he has one more win and in, lose and out game that he has to queue up.
Yeah, it's really tough because just yesterday, the end of yesterday, we were only halfway through the Swiss, when normally on day 2 we play out like last round or something like that.
1 or 2 rounds, and then we get into the bracket portion.
No, we've just got same again today. It's a long way to go for these players. Next up, we do have Dethelor versus Maeve. It's going to be coming up, and Dethelor is, again, might not be a super popular name everyone's heard of. There he is. Handsome fellow with a nod to the camera. But he is one of the more prolific Greek players. He's currently 1-0 up versus Maeve, and he's actually just always been around. We met Dethelor at Gfinity a long time ago when we first started casting, and he's actually just always plugging away. And in DreamHack, he has a very strong record, actually.
He does. He actually has one of the best cash histories in DreamHack events historically, because he's made a top 16 before, and then both of the events where he's busted out of the Swiss, he then enters the side events, which are a great initiative here at DreamHack, where the players who are eliminated from the Swiss portion early, they then put on a side tournament with a smaller prize pool where they get to run it all back. And Dethelor has picked up money in both of those in the years or the events where he's been eliminated from the core Swiss portion. Yeah,
and it looks like we're ready to get into game number 2. Dethelor already 1-0 up versus Maeve, and I'll be honest, I don't know much about Maeve, but we're about to find out. Just gonna go with the Druid kicking in here versus the Druid as well. So good old Jade Mirror.
Yep, looks like from the team shirt that she's sponsored by QLash, who is a team that I've seen in pretty strong force around the floor here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen, like, I think there's like 7 of them or something. There's like, unless, you know, some of them are like supporters wearing the jerseys.
I guess it's Clash, right? Thinking about it now, saying it out loud. It's probably just Clash, but spelled with a Q.
Say Q.
Q.
Say Lash.
Lash.
Cool, Clash. No? Okay.
You gonna reference the Family Guy there, Raven? What are you talking about? Gonna throw in some memes that the chat might understand, because it's a pop culture reference?
I know Lorendo won't understand.
No.
Okay, look at these hands. The double Drake from Dethelor is not really what you're looking for in this matchup. A lot of it is the Wild Growth, the Jade Blossoms. Nourish is going to help out, but Maeve has got a pretty good opening as well. Yeah, and you can see we've joined this series in progress. Dethelor has already gone out to a 1-0 lead, and much like the series we have just left, this is elimination stations for both of these players. 5 and 2, or sorry, 6 and 2, the record for both of these players. Cannot afford a third loss in this Swiss bracket, so a loss for either of these players will mean elimination. It's insane, isn't it? The like 6 and 2 is such a strong record, and it's just not enough. You know, like, you've just got to keep winning. It's like, keep going there. 75% win rate. Nope, job's not done yet. Yeah. Keep going. Nope, not good enough. Imagine, like, a 20-round Swiss. No! Oh, my Lord. Over, like, a week. That would be sick, actually. That would be pretty sick. Yeah. If you spaced it out over a long enough time, yeah, we take those. Yeah, like you know, similar, maybe 4 rounds a day or something, and start adding up like that. That would be really cool. Yeah. DreamHack 2018. Get on it. Innovate Aya, though, following up the Jade Blossom curve for Maeve. It's looking very promising. Out-tempoing hard here, and Dethelor is going to have a significant resource advantage with the Nourish that he has available, but not a matchup that is really about overwhelming resources. If both players, you know, choose to overtrade and really head down that value line, then your Nourishers and your Auctioneers can start to come up huge for you. But when one player gets as far ahead on tempo as you see here, then resources really don't save you, because this isn't a matchup where Primordial Drake can catch you up from behind. Yeah. Right? It just doesn't do that. The minions are too big. When it's an 8-mana 4/8 that probably doesn't kill a significant minion by the time it comes down, and then your opponent can just, you know, develop a 1-mana 9/9 on the board and then play a 4-drop that summons a 10/10 alongside. Like, your Primordial Drake is just not a mana-efficient play in this matchup. And I think that's why Dethelor's going to ramp into it and just say, I'm going to get them down as early as possible. You can see the hit setting up there for the Drake, and I think now Maeve has a reasonable play of actually just going Earthen Scales on the Aya. Sure. It's just very obvious what's about to happen. Sure. The ramp into the hit, I like it. Then you only need 2 damage, and Earthen Scales into Jade would mean you can trade through.
this this Drake that you know is coming down.
Yeah, there is a face-up card in Dethelor's hand right now for sure, with just how obvious that transmission was. Nourish yourself to 8 mana, deliberately trade every minion on the board down to 2 health.
So sick if he didn't have a Drake. That would be awesome. So it's like, oh yeah, play around Drake, I dare you. And they just drop something else. Just drops Gadgets and Innovate. And you're like, nah.
It's got to be an Earthen Scales turn.
I think so.
It just has to happen.
Okay, well, instead of the Jade Idol being used, the Ooze is going to come down.
Same thing.
The Ooze doesn't have value in this matchup outside being a 3-3, and it does survive the Drake turn just as well. And it still hits through. So, yeah, that's fine. So hold on to that Jade Idol in case there's a Fandral, in case there's a Gadgetzan coming out soon. And Dethelor just has to pretty much commit to this line. That's it. That's the big Jades. These are really racking up really quickly here.
They are. That's the 3-3 now. 4-4 coming out of Aya, and then 5-5 and 6-6 potentially from the Jade Idol. But it looks like Maeve's going to hold back here. I think I like just a 6-6 on the board right now. Just try and get him.
Your opponent's on 14, and you have a next turn play, most importantly.
I mean, it threatens lethal, right? Like, you put a 6-6 on the board, 6 + 4 + 5 is 15.
Yeah.
Checks out.
It does add together reasonably nice. But I do think that especially because you could just drop Drake next turn, and you then wait until turn 9 to play Jade Idol, and then that's just slow. Like, you could just have a 6-6. What does your opponent do? You just saw Dethelor have to 2 turns set up a Drake.
Yep. Really wanted to see that Jade Idol come down. Trusting your deck in Jade Druid is actually sometimes a little bit of a pitfall. You know, trusting you're going to draw something that generates a lot of pressure every turn. It doesn't quite work out that way. Like, you know, 1/3 of your deck is Jade cards, or slightly less than 1/3. So you don't always draw a card that generates a lot of pressure, right? You can draw a Wild Growth, you can draw an Innovate, you can draw a Nourish, which would be fine in this spot, but it wouldn't keep loading up pressure.
So, it wouldn't just win you the game.
Right. So the pitfall of just saying, okay, I'm going to go all in, and then I'm going to be able to just draw pressure to keep myself going. Maeve's thinking here is that she wants to hold on to that Jade Idol so more draws become live, because then suddenly Gadgetzan Auctioneer is a very live draw as well. So she's increasing the density of her deck. But now the Innovate draw does make this a bit of a whiff, although she does have a pretty reasonable looking Primordial Drake turn. But again,
Jade Idol dies.
Just that 6-6 that's missing from the board right now could end up being a really huge factor in this matchup.
Well, imagine the way it would have played out, right? The 5-5 goes to the 3-6. Drake comes down, you go face with the 6-6. Seems good.
Lethal threatened again.
From both 2 minions separately.
Yep.
Because you still have hero power to match the 4 attack from the Drake, and hero power yourself to match the 1 armor gain from Dethelor's hero power. Yeah, I mean, and you just wonder how many turns are you waiting for this Jade Idol to do for something funky when it could have just been a 1-mana 6-6.
And when you're threatening lethal in this matchup, especially when you do it early, you're not always expecting that lethal to actually stick. Like, you don't threaten lethal and say, okay, I'm pretty confident. Like, I feel like 75% of the time I'm going to kill them here, right? Because they can Feral Rage, they can Earthen Scales.
Well, that's like 40% or something.
They can drop Jade Behemoth. But the point is, by threatening lethal, you make them make one of those plays.
Yeah, they're bad plays.
They don't have free reign to do whatever they want, which, you know, could be go off on an Auctioneer turn, go Fandral Nourish, and then just pick up some insane value, rip a Wrath off the Nourish as well, and then be able to play that on the same turn.
Exactly, and inherently, like, an Earthen Scales on just a minion to try and survive is often just way worse than an Earthen Scales you actually want to use, you know? And that's it. Every single play is worse than it would have been if it was Dethelor's choice. Now Dethelor does have more choice in what to do than Maeve, but again, this damage is just a problem. I think just, is this one turn you can get away with Aya? Even Aya Earthen Scales?
Yeah, if you play Aya, you can Earthen Scales to pull yourself out of range of things.
You want to catch up on the Jades, then you have Jade Behemoth to survive another turn.
You can Wrath for 1 alongside that if you want to cycle a little bit more. But that the problem with that is that you Wrath for 1. There's then a 4/7. Say you're Earthen Scalesing your Aya. Your Aya then has 6 attack. So that's kind of annoying. You might want that Wrath to be able to clear up the remainder of this Primordial Drake.
Yeah, I
we'll
do like this, though. This is nice, because if you're not playing Aya now, are you even playing Aya this game? Like, that's, my major worry.
Agreed.
Whereas Jade Behemoth next turn, you drop a 4/4 and a 3/6 taunt. Nice swipe, though.
Another kind of dead draw.
Good, just had a 6/6.
It's getting to the point now where I'm not sure like how impactful it would have been if the draws were going to be this dead. Because the fact that Dethelor's had 2 resilient plays, the Jade Behemoth and the Earthen Scales back-to-back, he would have resisted the lethal pushes anyway, temporarily, right?
But you'd still have a 6/4.
You would still have another 6/6 beating away the whole time. I concur with all of that. But like I said, the reason Maeve wanted to hold back is that she wanted to give herself the chance to draw, you know, Gadgetzan Auctioneer, Nourish, whatever it is, and get back into the game using that Jade Idol. But at this point, Dethelor probably would have stabilized against the extra 6/6 as well, or at least not be facing down lethal this turn. And now he'd have a potential further setup for the next turn.
Yeah, what I would say as well is that wouldn't be an Aya, that would be a Jade Behemoth.
Sure.
If there's a, you know what I mean? So the Jades are a little bit slower, and, you know, it's not just starts to compound itself a little bit. But, you know, that's just one path that Maeve could have taken, and she decided to go with this one and does get the 6/6 down now.
This is a great turn for Dethelor, though. Rewarded by holding that Wrath as well. You can Wrath the 4/8 for 3, trade the 3/2 into it. That leaves it as a 4/2. Play the Primordial Drake. That kills the opposing Primordial Drake, and then your 4/4 can get the full clear by taking care of the 6/6.
What's really funny is I saw the full clear the other way.
Go on.
Hang on. No, I didn't. I was just looking, I looked at the number differently. Just presuming our minds work in opposites.
I mean, they do. Mine's right and yours is wrong.
Oh, I never committed to it. So
those are opposites, right?
You're annoying. I'm charming.
Also probably true, yeah. Not going to dispute that one.
Okay, 1-1. Keep them going.
Yeah, looks like Dethelor sees it.
Yeah.
You saw a little bit of finger counting going on there just for a while, just making sure. It is, you know, a slightly weird sequence of events that you have to throw out here. You know, making sure you trade 1 minion first, then the Primordial Drake comes down in the middle, then the second trade happens. Just making sure that no accidents happen here, because this is a game to go 2-0 from a position like where he looked like he was massively behind in the early game. And if he can go out to a 2-0 lead here with his Jade Druid, and keep himself in the hunt in this tournament, because remember, this is an elimination game yet again. This will be 3 losses for the defeated player in this matchup.
Look at this as well. Fandral, now without the Jade Idol, not great, as it's just basically Taz Dingo. Dethelor has Nourish. This is when you need this card, and he's already ramped as well, remember?
And Dethelor sits back, swig of water, says, there we go, buddy. We got there. Feels the tides have turned now.
No punish for going wide on the board, so we can always Nourish next turn. So just going for the Jade Behemoth and saying, I'm just going to start beating you up now. Why not?
Yep. No reason. I mean, this is actually a very tempo-based matchup, so there's no reason to Nourish when you already have good plays in your hand, right? You just,
I agree,
you just throw the cards out, get your maximum tempo developed, and then Nourish behind that on a follow-up turn to just refill your hand.
It's just great to have, isn't it? Just to sit in hand when you're low on resource and be like, well, whenever I want, I just draw 3 cards. That is so huge.
Nourish has always got your back.
Yeah.
It's like that loyal dog that you just love to come home to.
I prefer cats, but okay.
I do also, but cats aren't loyal.
No, you're loyal to the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Cats are the rulers. And that was just a hero power pass from Maeve. This is how grim it is. And now Jade Spirit, Jade Idol. Dethelor can almost close his eyes and click cards until he runs out of mana. And he probably wins this game still. Not even joking.
No.
Unless it's like double innovate.
You're probably right.
I mean, just do whatever he wants now.
And again, we really do have to go back and evaluate that Jade Idol decision, right?
Yep.
And just how big an impact it had on Maeve just losing her grip on the board.
I think it would have got at least, or at least threatened, but even with the armor gain, at least 12 damage in.
Yep.
That could, I mean, well, look at Dethelor's health as well.
12.
I didn't even look at that. It wasn't even planned. I was staring at you.
Right. As you
but
said,
you know what I mean? I'm being serious.
Right,
like,
but as you said, this is the point I made earlier, right? If the lethal was threatened, even if it doesn't go through, as you said, the Aya wouldn't have come down because he would have had to have gone Jade Behemoth instead. Then maybe Earthen Scales gets less value. Then maybe Dethelor isn't fighting for the board quite as effectively. Maybe the swipe that she drew has more of an impact on the board because there's not a Death Rattle minion in play. There are many, many ifs, and yet again, we're just begging for that resume from replay feature.
Would be truly glorious. There's Gadgetzan, a little bit too late. I think what, like, Yogg, if Maeve even plays it,
it's a Yogg
would have been just like, well, yep, gotta go for it. So now, does swipe help? It removes 2 power from the board. Can gain 5 armor though.
So if she gains 5, she goes up 25. To 28 as 25, you counted on the board?
25, 26 hero power, 27 with Earthen Scales.
Okay, but she can see 26, right, coming at her. So Earthen Scales, in theory, from what she can see, keeps her alive?
Mm-hmm. You know how crazy Earthen Scales would be? If you play it on like an enemy minion and still gain the armor. That would make the Jade mirror really weird.
Wait, 8, 11, 16, 20, 27, 28.
What? Did I just skip a minion?
Yeah, I think so. 8, 11, 16, 20, 27, 28. Yeah, that's what I get for trusting you, Raven.
Did I presume swipe was going down somewhere?
I guess so, yeah.
I think I did, yeah. I think I just counted a swipe.
Fair enough.
Hey-ho. You're the counter in this relationship. I just say words.
28, 1 off with the Earthen Scales. That makes 29 by my count. Right, 8, 11, 16, 20, 27, hero power 28, Earthen Scales 29. Dethelor just going through the motions, rips the swipe anyway to make it all a formality.
Wow.
Yogg was there as a backup for the player that didn't need it. Mae would happily trade her entire hand for that Yogg-Saron that Dethelor just drew. But Dethelor does go to a 2-0 lead here, and it's looking like his run of consistent DreamHack results is going to continue.
Yeah, you know, he's just, the more like I said, we know Dethelor for such a long time. I met him 2.5 years ago, I think, at Gfinity when he was playing in that. And just to double check, yeah, Maeve has Mage left. I wanted to look at that before. But yeah, Dethelor is a player who's had nothing crazy dramatic, right, you know, in terms of wins. He's just consistently decent, right? Consistently good. But I feel that this past year, the more I see him, the more I've sort of seen him improve, if that makes sense. Like, even his HGG performance, Greece aren't in anymore, but, you know, their matches, I felt like he was definitely leading the way for the Greek team. Now we're getting into potentially the final game. Mage does not have the friendliest relationship in terms of matchups with the Jade Druid, mainly because the sheer amount of armor that can be gained.
Did you catch, was the Alex Straza kept or mulliganed into?
Too busy staring at you, Sol, I'm sorry.
I'll allow it.
I wouldn't blame Maeve if it was kept though.
That's why I ask. I think keeping Alex is just fine. Like, you know, keeping Alex, keeping Medivh, keeping Archmage Antonidas, even like whatever your unusual win condition is against Druid, you're not going to do it the conventional way where you have all the time in the world to draw your deck. Because if you draw your entire deck, the Gadgetzan Auctioneer deck is going to draw their entire deck as well, and then you have to beat 2 Earthen Scales and 2 Feral Rages, and that's just not happening.
Yeah, for me as the mage here, I close my eyes and pray for the 1-2 drops, right?
Yep.
Because beating the Druid up early is a much safer win condition than anything else you can plan for against Druid. You just want to get that early damage in. But now with the Blizzard and the Acolyte, I guess this could be straight up Freeze Mage.
Presuming so.
Because, you know, there is mergers and meshes of Gunter, Freeze, and Secret.
You don't often see Acolyte in them though, right?
You don't often see Blizzard in them.
Also
it's
true.
normally Nova Doomsayer,
right?
I think you could play an Acolyte in a Gunter style, right? Just the one-offs. I think I've seen that. But Blizzard, no, I don't think so. So this goes straight up Freeze Mage, which personally I think makes the matchup harder for Maeve than if it was a Gunter hybrid.
For sure. 100% concur with that. Oh, the curve-filling Jade Blossom was such a dream. That Wrath was looking miserable because it was kind of the whole turn with nothing to do alongside it, but the Jade Blossom was the perfect pickup to go alongside.
Now, Arcanal just ping this turn does mean that there has to be a hero power response from Dethelor if you want to clean up the Arcanologist with the 2-2 trade as well. But if it isn't there, I mean, it's hard not to because Dethelor has approximately 1 million mana compared to Maeve at this point. But if it isn't there, means that, you know, Maeve maybe can start chipping away some health, but it's just going to get cleaned up.
Yeah, Nourish is important here. As I mentioned, the previous matchup that we watched, Jade Druid versus Jade Druid, very, very tempo-focused. You can overdo it. That is possible. You can overcommit on resources and just run out of steam if the other Jade Druid is able to trade evenly with you. But first and foremost, focus on tempo. That's how you'll get the highest win rate out of that matchup. This, very, very different. You almost don't really have to threaten the ice blocks and threaten lethal too quickly in this matchup. As long as you ramp your Jades, it doesn't matter whether it's turn 10, turn 11, whatever it is. Eventually, one turn, you're going to be able to just develop 30 damage worth of power onto the board and be threatening for the rest of the game. The more important factor in this matchup is to pool resources, cycle through your deck, auctioneer, innovate, auctioneer, wild growth, get those nourishes, slam through those as well. Find your 2 Earthen Scales, find your 2 Feral Rages.
It's the armor management is key.
Hero power every turn while you can as well.
There is a turn that can be Antonidas Frost Nova,
yes.
And then you're like, how many fireballs actually do they need? Because that's very doable then. You know, when you count pyros, fireballs, frostbolts, etc., glyphs. But if you can just control it, not use early Earthen Scales, hold it all back, and then as soon as you hit 7, 7, 8, 8 Jades or whatever, then suddenly Earthen Scales is just like, well, that's 2 fireballs soaked up. Great. That's 2 more fireballs soaked up.
Something that I've seen players do in this matchup from the Druid side and like directly lose because of it is commit the double removal into a Doomsayer that didn't even kill that much.
Yeah.
And when I say that much, like maybe like 18 powers worth of Jades, maybe. But in the grand scheme of Jade Druid, that's not a lot. Yeah. Right? And that's not the thing you lose to. You don't lose to Frost Nova Doomsayer sweeping your board. You lose to the second Frost Nova that then comes down with the Archmage Antonidas, and you don't have those 2 removal spells to deal 7 damage to a minion anymore.
Yeah, and the double removal being Swipe and Wrath just to, you know...
Feral Rage Wrath as well.
Sure.
Like, yeah, that's why I was that vague, because there's multiple ways of doing it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do need the bow to kill the Antonidas, and quite rightly, I agree. It's like, you'll never lose versus a deck as Jade Druid as long as you don't die, which sounds kind of weird, but you will always find the damage, you will find the power to end the game. You just can't let them have those fireballs. But now I honestly, like, in this matchup, there's a reason Maeve didn't choose Mage first, and this is just tough because not only has Maeve been reasonably slow in the opening, Dethelor's been fast. He's ramped. He's got card draw. He's got plenty of resources to play around with. He has a wild growth in 2 turns time to cycle more cards. All he needs is like a Gadget Zan, you know, a Jade Spirit, and you know, a couple of the Jade cards. And then this is already looking very, very, very dangerous for Maeve at this point. There's Frost Nova Doomsayer available. Blizzard does buy a lot of time, but not against a 4-8.
Ping Pass, the classic Mage turn 6 that you love to see.
I think a large part of the mastery of Freeze Mage, and I'll be honest, I am not great at this, is deciding how much damage you are okay to take every turn. I think that is actually very hard, and it differs per matchup, of course.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, turns like that, you might think, oh, that's a terrible turn. Well, actually, it's just letting the board build up more. You can take 5 this turn, whatever. You're still on 24, you still have freezes, you still have barriers, probably. So it's just judging that amount of push you can take until, you know, maybe the ban snaps, and that's going to be too much.
Yeah, and I agree. Finding exactly where you draw the red line on how much damage you're happy to just sit and take is difficult. 4 is definitely a long way below that, right?
Oh, so yeah, 100%.
You're not going to react to a Primordial Drake under any circumstances. So since Maeve didn't have anything to do, she just had to ping past. The real like negative of that turn is that she didn't have an Arcanologist to play. She didn't have a secret to develop. She didn't have an Arcane Intellect to just start slamming through. That's what she would love to be doing on a turn when you don't have to react to the board state, because that's actually a luxury, right? That's supposed to be a turn where Freeze Mage does wonderful things that they want to do when they don't have to react to the board state. I think this is too early to be Frost Nova Doomsayering.
I agree. Blizzard. It's 6 mana. It's really heavy. If you don't want to take the 7 damage, then just play Blizzard. It used up your turn. You don't want to have to squeeze Blizzard in later anyway.
Even more so than that, if you're going to try and get a Frost Nova Doomsayer to go off, you want it to go off on your turn 8. So that you then just jam empty board Alexstrasza, and then you have the chance of an 8-8 connecting with the face on the following turn. It's just, this isn't really setting up a great deal for the following turn. Ooh.
Dethelor does the exact thing I told him not to.
But you didn't tell him not to. It's not like Sol had a word before. Dethelor. Don't do this as Jade turn.
There's a second Frost Nova in hand as well. This can happen if we get to Antonidas in a couple of turns.
Well, now it can be Blizzard, right? You know, like now Blizzard, and then you just stall and stall and stall.
I just don't like how fast you're burning through your freeze effects at that point.
I think I would have liked Blizzard previous turn.
One Frost Nova preventing 7 damage, and then a Blizzard only preventing 7 damage as well. It's just taking 7 in the grand scheme of this matchup is not a big number either.
I agree. I think normally when you're at this kind of health, you're looking at 10 plus is something you don't want to take.
Yeah.
Maybe even 12 plus. But my worry.
So I think part of the pitfall you can fall into is actually thinking about it as numbers. It's not raw numbers, it's a percentage of your health remaining and how that translates into the number of turns that you have.
Yeah, which is why I said like at this health,
yes,
you're thinking of 10 plus. But obviously if you're at 15, suddenly 10 plus is ice block, you know, procs. But I would have liked the Blizzard beforehand because they're so clunky to get out of your hand. You're not trying to particularly combo them with anything later on. Like, they're just large, high-cost mana cards. And you could just get rid of one quite easy and still have a Frost Nova Doomsday available. And I do agree. I think if the Frost Nova Doomsday was this turn, stop the development, Alexstrasza becomes a little bit more reasonable because, 1, no armor. 2, you don't have Antonidas yet. So you can't really play to that plan.
There was a window. There was a small window, but Dethelor has just grabbed that window frame with both hands and firmly slammed it shut because there was only that one Feral Rage.
Fingers.
Right, before this turn, there was only that one Earthen Scales in the hand. The Jades aren't huge at this point to be able to turn that Earthen Scales into massive amounts of armor, but then the first draw this turn was Feral Rage, which is 8 more armor, and then the second draw is that Auctioneer that Dethelor has been waiting all game for. Without this huge amount of card draw and huge amount of armor gain that's now available, Maeve actually still had Alex into 12 damage already in hand, so there was a world where she was going to get there, but now that Auctioneer turn should just seal the deal for Dethelor. This is looking very much like a 3-0 at this point.
And even look at the follow-up now. Aya's available. Jade Idol's just going to be used to just mess around here. Does develop the Jade because you don't want to shuffle, because there's still some key cards to draw, additional Earthen Scales.
Well, yeah, he also wants to ramp his Jade so his Earthen Scales get better and better in the future as well, right?
And then like Aya follow-up, you know, Yogg worst case scenario is available now, and he's just played a lot of spells, and now this is frankly a problem.
And a large one at that.
Yeah, because the second you fireball this Gadget Zan, well, your opponent's just gained 13 armor in one turn.
It's almost the Ragnaros Lightlord effect, right? You've played your Auctioneer, you've put Earthen Scales on it, that's gained you 5, and then if it eats a removal spell, you've double dipped on how much life that thing has gained you.
This is tough. If the Antonidas was already in hand, that would have, I think, made the plan a little bit more straightforward for Maeve because it's just available, right? You know, it's similar to the Alexstrasza plan, so to speak. If you have it in hand, you know you can do it, no matter what, at that turn. But not being there, I generally don't think Maeve has got this, whichever way she cuts it. She's just going to go Alexstrasza and say, right, that was a lot of armor, fine. Let's see what I can draw in the next couple of turns. I do have Blizzard to save myself a little bit. Does have Thalnos plus some damage. Maybe if it lines up, Fireball, Glyph, Pyroblast, maybe.
It's just 28 though. Welcome to 28 city population Dethelor. It's just not a scary place. 28 is a fine number to be hanging around at here.
I agree, but I think at this point, what other road do you take?
Well, so she could have played Blood Mage and started just burning down the armor now, which he would need to do at some point anyway, because Alexstrasza has no effect on the armor. At least at that point, you then cycle a card for next time, because your Blood Mage Thalnos has hit the board. Maybe then that doubles your chances of your next draws being Arcane Intellect, and then suddenly you have a game plan. Maybe if there's Antonidas in the deck, it doubles your chances of hitting Antonidas, so you can go Antonidas Frost Nova on 10. I don't know. The Alexstrasza just not really making any significant dent in the health total at this point. Not really seeing the line.
Aya's going to come down now. Just create a... what may as well be enough damage on board at this point. But Maeve can buy some time. It's just, is that time ever going to be enough time to time out in this game and win?
So Pyro, double bolt, and a fireball in hand right now makes 22 plus blood mage damage plus ping. So over a number of turns, it looks like she might be able to chew through all of this health and armor total of Dethelor. But Dethelor still has an auctioneer on the board, which will enable him to push through and pick up all of that extra armor gain that he still has remaining.
Unless he's only running one Feral Rage.
But almost certainly another Earthen Scales left, though, right?
Yeah.
It could be one Feral Rage, I agree, that's not uncommon, but the second Earthen Scales is there for sure.
We'll give him that one. Just checking the cards.
15 cards remaining still on turn 10.
One Arcanologist was played.
Yeah.
Then no Intellect.
Yep.
One Acolyte got wrathed.
Yep.
That's it. Thanos is still there. He's going to get a draw, which I think is less about the 3 damage and more about the draw here for Maeve. Oh, okay. He's going to Frostbolt the 7/7. I was like, just take the damage. It's fine.
Uh-oh.
Easy big, easy armor.
How big can we get these Jades going before we have to jam that Earthen Scales on there? He doesn't even have to do it this turn. He's not getting 25'd in any world, so he can just wait, keep ramping the Jades as much as he possibly can, get maximum value out of that Earthen Scale on a following turn now.
Gone are the glorious days of Evolve, Kobold, Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Ice Lance, Ice Lance, Ice Lance, Ice Lance.
How many was that? 7? 7 Ice
playing Wild.
Lances? Ah, okay.
Quas, Tome, Glyph.
Got it.
Speaking of Glyph, don't know if anything too funky can come out here to help. There's also just not the second ice block available. So once it's procced, it's procced. Flame, Straiku. Not gonna happen. Mana Bind, I mean... Great.
Nope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Arcane Explosion, worse than the 2 we just said no to.
That is a hard pass on the Mana Bind.
I mean, it's just not cards you want to see, is it? A Flame Geyser would be better than all these options combined.
Yeah.
At least it's damage.
You know what? You might be right. Those words,
I am right.
Those words came out, I screwed up my face and went, that's a weird thing to say. No, you know what? You might be right.
I
Yeah.
am right. I am right.
It's going downtown, Fireball and the Frost Nova. That is 19 now for Dethelor, 13 in hand for Maeve.
So now you Yogg to proc the block, right? No?
I mean, that's just not even thinking big enough. You Yogg to flare and then kill her.
Still procs the block.
It doesn't. It just doesn't.
It procs the block into nothingness and then get him.
Is it Earthen Scales time, though?
Yeah, I think.
Is there any way Dethelor can be greedy? He definitely can. There is a Primordial Glyph card in hand, though, which can change the maths in this position, but I believe it's...
I think I can take 9.
I believe it's 18 is the max, right? Fireball is actually as good as it gets with one Primordial Glyph card in hand.
Yeah, because Thanos...
Is there a better combination than that?
No, there's not. Not in Standard.
Pyroblast Frostbolt would be 13. The thing equals 8.
There's not. Okay. Go draw a little bit first, or draw a lot first, should I say.
All right, well, now he's just hitting the Jade Idols. It feels like he has the opportunity to Earthen Scales this turn if he really, really wants to, but he's probably just going to start shuffling just to make sure he doesn't hit fatigue. He is going to go ahead and Earthen Scales here just in case there's any kind of combination he's forgotten about. Fair enough.
If 9 is not enough to win this game, then you're losing this game somehow. You know what I mean? Like, an additional 9 on top of the hero power. Or 10, sorry, because the extra Jade. Yeah, sorry. The additional 10. Back up to full health. Alex Strauss has been used. And Maeve's getting proc next turn, more than likely. Jade Druid doing it again.
Fire Blast. Back to 20. Burns a Jade Idol. Unlucky. Gonna keep gaining that one every possible turn. I
think that's what's gonna push it over the edge of being impossible now.
Yeah.
If you stayed at 20 over the course of 2 turns, what can you do? Fireball, Frostbolt, Ping. and then Pyro again from Glyph, say. Like, that will get you there.
Or a second Pyro. We haven't actually seen an Antonidas yet. It might end up even being a double Pyro list.
Sure.
Possible.
But that's what I mean. But then you add the one armor every
The one
turn,
armor
and
going in, yeah.
that just gets you out of range of even the worst case scenario here. So Dethelor, I mean, there you go. Don't need to say anything. His image, just the smile and the nod. He's like, yeah.
Dude. Dude.
As the Jades do continue to grow, if he's actually playing any as well. He's shuffling a lot.
He hasn't though, right? I think he's just consistently shuffled, I believe, yeah.
But if you do play them and the board is full, they do continue to grow. So the next one will be, you know, XX. But yeah, he's just, I think he's just winding us up at this point. I think Maeve's face there tells a story of its own.
All right.
Just like, really?
Glyph into Yogg. Let's go.
Glyph into Yogg. So, I mean, Frost Nova into Frostbolt face.
Yep.
Keeps it alive for another turn.
It is a turn. Can confirm. That is a turn where you will live.
Confirm that turn.
Excuse me, you are on fire.
Okay, Ice Barrier does the same job.
But you Frostbolt anyway, right?
Don't have to, no. If he procs the Ice Barrier, that's a win for you, because then you no longer die to swipe, for example.
Okay.
You can ping.
I'm just thinking about, well, it depends what's left in the deck, right?
What's left in the deck is 57 Jade Idols.
Is too full.
Not Dethelor's deck. Maeve's. Yeah, this doesn't set up any or doesn't not set up anything either way, right?
Right. It's just, you know, over time you lose 1 damage by frostbolting instead of pinging.
There's an FB. And no, I don't mean Firebat. It's Fireball.
And that is a bottom right in spirit, if not in action. It throws out the well played. It was well played indeed by Dethelor, who goes out to a 3-0 win and continues the really consistent performances, Lothar, that he has had at DreamHack events.
Definitely true. Dethelor is coming in. Well, that was actually the last chance for him here in this tournament to stay in, right? He needs to win one more for his opponent. Unfortunately, that means she is out. Can't really do much with 3 losses on her score. But still, I feel like we didn't talk enough about the Jade Druids, right, in this tournament. Like, again, a 3-0 sweep with the Jade Druid. And we can see a signature matchup as well against mages. Sottle, what can you tell me about that?
I mean, it's just tough. It's always been pretty tough just because of the amount of consistent power they can have, and just the access back in the day just to Feral Rage was often good enough. Back then, they were often Raven idling to try and find extra armor if they needed it. Now, when you throw Earthen Scales into the mix, it's an absolute nightmare. I don't think Maeve played optimally by any means. She threw away her freeze effects way too rapidly, did not give herself the time she needed when it was clear that her Alexstrasza plan didn't work out. But then even on that front, her Alexstrasza game plan she kind of deviated from as well.
Yeah, it's like a step back away from it, right?
Because if she was going to go for the turn 9 Alex and then just try and get that 8-8 to connect and that make up the difference, then you Frost Nova Doomsayer on 8 to set that up. She did it on 7.
I also wonder, I'm not 100% sure what was banned in that matchup, but if you have Freeze Mage in your lineup and you're not banning Jade Druid, I don't know what you're banning. Maybe surely not Priest. Your other decks can beat Priest, right? No, I'm being serious. Well, Priest wrecks Mage. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of just does. It never dies. But if you had leaving Jade Druid up when you run Freeze Mage, like, what's the angle there? And it's only because I'm not 100% sure what the bans are.
It all depends on the fact that if you are actually certain that someone plays Jade Druid, right? We have seen a lot of aggro Druid already in this tournament. That can actually pop up again. It's all about now scouting. But Donovan was actually in a really huge group that is playing here, Q-Lash, and I'm sure that they're scouting their opponents. So there is some quite there's
it was saying before, I've seen like 12 of them walk around with those jerseys on. So it's like get them squad.
It's like those bikers, you know, in the 60s that are just going around with huge groups and you can't really touch them.
Well, it's a lot of players I've not had the pleasure of meeting or speaking to too much. I was going to go up to them, but they were intimidating. There was loads of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, oh. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Raven. Like, get out of our park.
All right. Well,
I didn't say that, by the way. I'm sure they're lovely. It's like before anyone believes me.
That sums up the 9th round of the Swiss, and now we're going into the round 10 final round. The first time we'll actually see a 10th round in a DreamHack Grand Prix for the first time ever. As I said already, 288 players signed up to this tournament. This is why we have a 10th round, and it's something unusual and amazing. For many, the tournament already ended, but there are still few battling it out, and hopefully they will get that last win that is needed to advance to the top 16. So don't go anywhere. We'll be concluding the Swiss Potion in just a few minutes.